to Lila the podcast. I'm your host, Alexa, and today I have a friend that I've wanted to have on forever. Hey. Welcome, Kenna.
Thank you.
I have my friend Mckenna here.
Happy to be here.
And she is like the best example of a traveler that I know, like a young traveler that just follows adventure. So you're the perfect guest to have on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that you're visiting me. So yeah, I can't wait. Let's do it.
Kenna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh. Okay. So the name's Mckenna. Let's see. I'm rightfully 21 years old. Joe was visiting me in Chicago, but we first met in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And that was just such a fun experience. But we've bonded over so much just traveling, and came from cleaning toilets. I'm sure we might get into some fun stories with that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I live at home right now trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing in my... Can I swear?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life. But I'm a part-time student, part-time worker. I'm a server. I love traveling. Absolute passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it. Yeah, I'm a sister, mom. No, I'm not a mother. I'm not a mother.
To your son, your dog.
To my dog, yes. My fluffy boy, we love him. Yeah, I'm a friend. I'm just trying to explore what is going on with my life right now.
Yeah.
And
word.
Seriously.
I feel like probably we'll never stop trying to figure out what's going on with life right now.
Yeah.
But something that I admire about you so much, and I think will be so inspirational to other people, is just how young you started doing what you do and just like following your heart and the adventure. And basically Kenna and I met in 2022 at a work exchange on the Big Island of Hawaii, and I've talked about it a little bit in past episodes. If you listen to the Maria and Shahir episodes,
go listen.
That's
so good.
Who we were working for. And if you haven't, then you should. But we met because when I first got there, Mckenna was already there as somebody else doing a work exchange, and also our friend Aoife. And we just kind of clicked right away, and it was really good, really fun. And I was nervous going in because Shahir, our host dad, if you will, didn't really give the most information. So I was like, who else is here? He's like, 2 girls, they're nice. And it's always really intimidating going into a situation where you're like, oh my God, there's already 2 girls there. Like, are they nice? Are they cliquey? Are they not? Like, and then you guys were just both like, we walk in and you guys are having a dance party in the kitchen and Harry Styles. And I was like, okay, we're fine. We're just fine.
Yeah. No, it'll
and
be
then
okay.
Like so excited to show me around the house and everything. And so that was such a relief too. And I was like a few years older than you guys, but still like you're both so mature that I didn't really feel the age difference so much. And I just admire so much what you were doing at 18 that I like couldn't even fathom have been doing. And like I felt young for doing what I was doing in traveling and doing work exchange and following your dreams. And then I meet people like you and I'm like, oh my God, you're seriously so brave. Aww. And that wasn't even the first thing. So I just like, what even inspired you to start traveling? Because you really did your first like international travel when you were 18 out of high school. Yeah.
So right, I was in high school as a basketball player, and I was going to go play in college to go play basketball. To make a long story short, I've torn both my ACLs. I was like, that's not like, I don't really think I want to take the college, like school is still very hard for me. I didn't know if I wanted to play basketball, and I've always had this like travel mindset about me, and I never traveled outside of the country before my first gap year. So I say first because I feel like I'm in like my forever life gap year. But
what do you mean? You're in school.
Okay, so true. But
my first gap year, I'm done.
And then it continued.
And if you never go to school, it's just
like my 5th gap year, you know. I'm like, girl, no, you just are not. You're not going to school. But then after making that decision to not play basketball, I was like, you know what? I want to take this dream of mine. I can't even remember how I was like stumbled upon this gap year program that it takes kids like 18 to like 23, I think it is, and you can go, was Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, there's like Latin America, you can go anywhere in the world, and you can go on these gap trips, and it's usually like a semester long, and It's a pretty penny, I will say.
But they are so expensive.
So expensive. And this was right after COVID. So I was supposed to go, I don't know if you know this, but I was supposed to go to New Zealand and Australia.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. And that was my original plan. And I even have, like, when I took my senior pictures for senior year going into whatever I was doing, I have my New Zealand, Australia shirts on. I was so for it. And then I got this call. And they were very much like during COVID, because it was right after COVID. They were like, we just don't think it's going to be able anymore. So then the lady who runs the whole thing was like, I really think Thailand would be a good option for you. And everything happens for a reason. I'm a strong believer in that. And that is very true, because, I mean, I had got my best friend out of it. Like, I just have made so many good friends out of it. But basically, it was a group of like 10 of us. And we went to Thailand, and we had like 2 or 3 instructors, and everything was like set up for you. You had a plan every day. It was this beautiful experience. And so I was there for about 4 months.
Oh my God, I did not realize it was that long.
Yeah.
And you guys were in Thailand the whole time?
Yeah. So it was supposed to be like Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and then maybe Vietnam. And for the like 3.5 months. But then for COVID, like restrictions and I don't know how it was when you went. Were they still like particular about COVID? No,
I don't think I was even asked, if I remember. But that was also a solid like 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, Thailand was very much like, and it still is, like, relies on tourism a lot. So obviously they still wanted people to come travel. So that was the case. But like, we had to quarantine in Phuket for 2 weeks.
In Phuket?
Yeah. Phuket, of all places, right? I'm like, okay, let me go to like Hooters, like, for dinner. I don't know.
So you could leave your hotel room, you just couldn't leave Phuket?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did a bunch of...
I can't believe you were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2
That's
weeks.
crazy.
And I can't even really remember. It feels like a fever dream. I can't even remember what we fully did for that 2 weeks, but it was fun nonetheless. But yeah, we went, and that was like my first trip. And then I ended up like staying a little bit, like a month and a half after not a month and a half, like a half a month after we got like all in Airbnb, because it was like we never wanted to leave because we were living this dream of a life. And then I came home after that, and I was like, remember just coming home and being like, because talk about the blues after coming home from like a trip, especially my first like trip out of the country, and this like just amazing, addicting feeling, and like being happy every day, doing like something, being new every single day, not knowing what was going to happen, like this.
And you guys did some kind of like volunteer stuff too, didn't you? Because that actually is what led me to do the volunteering that I did in Thailand.
Yeah.
So it's like all connected. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I never would have had that if I hadn't met you in Hawaii later after you did that. If you would have gone to Australia and New Zealand. Like, it's just so crazy how everything works out the way it's supposed to.
Invisible string, I say. Yeah.
But that's really cool. I'm really curious to hear more about what you guys did in Thailand.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the next one.
Yeah. So we did we did Muay Thai class. Did you ever do that?
I did. Yeah.
We did, which is crazy to watch.
It is crazy to watch. And I am a lover, fun. Not a fighter. Like, I don't really like to watch fighting or boxing or anything. But when I went to, what is it called? Like a match or a fight, whatever. Like,
yeah.
With the music, I was getting into it. I was like, get it.
And they're like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I can't even describe the music, but I can literally hear it in my head.
So I like, yeah, no, 100%.
Gets you hyped.
Yeah. This should be my walkout song. Yeah, so we like did Muay Thai. We did a lot of volunteering with like the elephants and like just Thailand in general, being ethical elephant stuff. We did a lot of like knowledge and stuff about learning about the elephants. So we did that. We worked with the sex trafficking organization Daughters Rising, which is a wonderful organization. We worked with like a lot of families, a lot of like homestays, and it was just awesome. Like, it was the perfect balance of, we did a lot of like island hopping, and we learned about like ethical travel and stuff. And they really do set you up with this program, like #wish it was sponsored, because I love PD. It's Pacific Discovery, which you should work for them. Low key, we can talk about that. Okay. But they did a great job of like setting you up, like when you want to travel, this is how you do it. Like, just gave us a good foundation of things we want to do. So anyway, so that was my 4 months while I was there. I came back and I was home and working a little bit, and then I was like, okay, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. And so then that's when I stumbled upon World Packers. And of course, I brought the idea up to my parents, and they were like, I wanted to go to maybe like Costa Rica or just somewhere outside of America. And for some reason, they were like, well, I understand it, because you're going to go volunteer somewhere. They just kind of were like, it wasn't like PD where it wasn't like set, like it. World Packers is kind of a little sketch.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, like, there's plenty of things that I stumble upon on there that I'm like, I would never touch that opportunity.
Yeah.
I say in air quotes, with a 10-foot pole. Like, that just doesn't look established. It doesn't look good. Like, you can certainly get yourself into a bad situation, because it's kind of like booking.com or something like that, where like the different places post that they have a job opening and then you can apply for it, but like World Packers doesn't necessarily have, like, they're not hired by World Packers, if that makes sense. So it's more like a place to find work exchanges. So I can totally understand, especially when you were 18, why your parents were like, can you please not just go to some random country in the middle of nowhere in a jungle and like live with this random man, you know?
Yeah.
I totally can understand that.
So they were like, okay, fine, you can go, but it has to be in the United States. I was like, perfect.
Loophole.
Hawaii.
Loophole Hawaii.
So nonetheless, I bring my laptop to my parents. I'm like, this is where I want to go. It's KMR, where we met. And I actually, so like everything happens for a reason. I wasn't supposed to go. You broke your arm or something.
Yeah, I broke my wrist. Is that why you went?
Yeah. Well, you broke your wrist, and there was some like Irish girls that were supposed to come, I think, and then when they got to the airport, they were like, what are you doing in Hawaii? And you're not World Packers, that you're not supposed to work, like, you don't work because you're not getting paid, and that means you're like taking work away from people who live in Hawaii. So then they turned them away. Yeah. And so then Shahir and Maria were like, we don't have anyone. So then it was just Aoife for like 2 weeks, and they were like, we need people. And then you broke your wrist, so then you couldn't come for a while. So the application was closed, and I had emailed them and was like, I'm desperate, please, I need to leave. So
because it looked like so good and cool and everything too.
Yeah. And so then they got back to me, and then 2 weeks later I was in Hawaii. So it happened so quick. And then I was there with Aoife, the other girl, for a while, and she's from Wales. She's lovely. And then you came along, and I just remember you like coming like they were saying a new person was coming. And then you walk into the house, and I'll never forget, like, I was like, oh my God, she has such a cool tattoo. She's so cool. And we were like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And the day before, Shahir was like, hey, we're getting someone new, like, and of course, we didn't know when you were coming, because he didn't really tell us.
Right, of course. He was like, yeah, she'll come this week.
And we're like, can we have a day of when she's coming? And he's like, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget what day. I'm like,
can you look?
You came on Friday, so we're like, okay, awesome. We were just like waiting patiently.
That's like when I asked him, like, what's the living situation? Like, I thought I was maybe going to stay in like a room with bunk beds, like in a hostel. I didn't know how many workers there were or what it was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so am I like sharing a room? Do I get my own, or like what's going on? He's like, yeah, you'll either share a room or get your own room. I was like, yep, those are the only options. Which one is it? Like, he just like,
I'm like, also, can you send me a picture, like what kind of sheets they are, if I can do laundry? Like, I need a full list of what's going on.
Yeah. And he's like, no, we got it all. I'm like, I understand that you could have technically what it is, but like, do you have what I?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really help when your parents are asking. You're like, oh, I don't know.
I'm like, actually, I am 18, and my parents do have questions of where I'm going and where I'm staying. So maybe if you could actually send me the address.
Like, they're so chill and everything, but they just don't think that much about it.
So true. They're, I mean, amazing people, but very different from like, yeah. So yeah, I remember them saying that you were coming, and so me and Aoife, we put you up in the attic to start, right?
No. I always had my own room.
You did? Okay, maybe I was
never in the attic.
I was in the attic to start, and then I moved into Nui's room, and then Aoife was there with me, and I just remember us like setting up your room. We were so excited, and we really did luck out with the girls that were there, because
that's so cute. You were so excited.
We were so excited because someone new was coming, and we just worked so well together. I mean, you weren't there long with Aoife, but
yeah, she left like 2 weeks after I got there. But it was also it just worked out. Like, it was such a relief that we all got along and, like, had a lot of fun together. And we had a whole girly day, like, my first weekend there. It was so fun.
Yeah. And I think, too, and I found with other work exchange that I've done, I'm curious with, like, I know, and we've talked about this a little bit, but going into a new situation like that, it takes, for me, so much adjusting, and so much at the beginning. I'm like, I don't like this, like, this isn't for me. But then as the days go on, I just have to remember, even when I'm going on my backpacking trips, like, give it some time. I will ease into it and settle in. Because even this past time in Costa Rica, I was like, no, first week I want to go home. But then you make friends and whatever. Were you like at the beginning, were you ready to go home, or were you like still trying to feel it out?
I wasn't ready to go home, but like, so the way that I was living in Hawaii, I went there because I wanted to move to Hawaii. And so this was kind of like a foot in the door. And all we had committed to was like, you know, he said like a month trial basically, but he doesn't want anyone there longer or less time than that. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Or he wanted people there longer, but whatever. Anyway, so for me it was more like, I'm so excited that I'm finally living in Hawaii. Yeah. So I was excited. I will say though, like, it is pretty jump right into it with that specific one. So literally I got there at night and they're like, okay, we're gonna go swimming at 6 a.m. tomorrow, you want to come? I'm like, well, it doesn't really leave a very good impression for me to not come, but I'm kind of adjusting to like this big time difference and this big life change. So I didn't entirely want to go, but I did. And so I did go. And it was also just like, I don't really know how it works. Like I got up, like everybody's like, you know, doing their thing and like making little snacks for breakfast or whatever. And I didn't get groceries until like a few days later. So I was like, I don't know what to do, but I am so hungry. and it's just like, it is hard when you're in a new environment and getting adjusted. But I got comfortable pretty quick just with the way everything was. And then the first day there, like, we had to work. So yeah, it was like very much jump right into it. And then once I watched other work exchanges like come and go, I was like, this is just the way it is. Like, I'm lucky I even got to go home right away from the airport. Like, we picked up other workers that were like, we didn't even go to the house until like 6 hours later. And I'm like, I would be so furious if that was me. Like, after you get off this long flight, you just want to go see where you're gonna live.
Take a shower.
And he's like, yeah, we're gonna go to the beach. I'm like,
we're gonna pick up something from Facebook Marketplace right now.
Yeah, literally. So I think with that one in particular, no, but like when I do leave for travels, especially just because it's daunting to be gone for so long, when I first get there, I'm like, I want to go home. Like, I hate this. I'm alone. It's freaky. I'm in this environment I don't know. I have to like really put myself out there. And I think the work exchange felt so much more secure because I was going to be living in one place. First, when I went to Europe, I was having to figure it all out myself and bounce around. And so I think that's where I actually did feel more comfortable right away.
Absolutely.
And it was just like chemistry. Like, I just felt like I clicked with the people in the house and everything was very comfortable right away. But I guess I shouldn't say that after a few days. But the first few days was definitely like, I'm trying to get my bearings and like understand what I can and can't do. And I don't want to make any problems, but I'm also like, I really need groceries. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we'll get them at some point. I'm like, yeah, but like, I need to eat every day 3 times a day. Yeah. So
please give me them now.
So there are certain things that I feel like is hard about it, but I do think we kind of lucked out with the work exchange that we ended up with, because there's some other ones on the island for sure that I'm like, oh my God, I almost applied to that.
Me too.
And then I meet people there and I'm like, oh. Yeah. So I feel like work exchanges are so cool, and it's something that I definitely don't have like the capacity in me to do many times, just because you do a lot of work for free.
It's draining.
And like, yeah, you don't have to pay rent or utilities, so like an expensive place like Hawaii, that's super worth it. But my next work exchange, I don't necessarily know that like the work is going to be worth the lack of pay, but I'm more in it for the experience and everything. And you never know, like, I haven't gone there yet, but yeah, so I totally feel you with the like, I need to adjust a little bit. And like, at first you kind of hate it because you're like, oh my God, wait, I'm actually doing all this work for free. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's with like everything, and what I've learned, especially when traveling, is like, no matter what, and I was saying this today, but it's gonna happen. We're gonna get through it. So like, you might as well do it and see what happens. And even if it's uncomfortable at the beginning, like with my Costa Rica experience, for example, it's so different and such a change, but like stick with it. Or like, I know some of my friends that are in school and they go to college and they don't like it right away, but stick with it, because I'm like, once you get your bearings, like, you'll like it. So I think that's something I try to remember and like really live by, because everything is temporary.
Social media is not helpful with that either, because like that example you said with college, like had a really, really hard time my first semester of college adjusting, and like seeing everybody else online say they just got to college and they're having the time of their life and everything's so fun and all of this. And I thought, this is like, isn't what I want it to be. I should leave. And then I ended up being at the same school the rest of the time I was there. And I think for a reason, you know, like things didn't really end the way that I wish they would have, but I did still. There were times when I was in college that I was glad that I stayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know about that now that I see like all the cool opportunities there are out there. I wish maybe I would have branched a little bit further, but I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely that aspect, but so true about adjusting. And we were talking earlier today about like when you are backpacking and traveling, you have to be so kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to get in your head and be like, no, I should be grateful. I should be having the time of my life. Like I should do all the fun things. But the truth is that you are still like a normal functioning human. And when you do, it's not vacation, it's travel. And there is a difference because like a vacation is much shorter. And so, yeah, of course, you're always excited to be there. But then when it's travel and you're like going alone or just with one other person and you're like, oh, my God, we're just two like dumb 20-year-olds. What do you mean we're figuring this out? And you know that you're going to be away from home and away from comfort for a very long time. And you land in this foreign country and everybody around you is speaking a different language. And you're like, oh, wait, this really is not home. And that's a really scary thing. And I felt so anxious about that when I first started traveling when I was 21. So like the fact that you were doing all of that when you were 18 is just so crazy to me.
Very true. Hawaii was honestly, and Hawaii, my work exchange in Greece and Costa Rica, honestly, all of my work exchanges I've gone solo for. I will say I haven't gone fully like solo backpacking hostel to hostel for more than like 2 weeks. Like I did a little bit before, like after my mom left me in Croatia before I went to the work exchange in Greece last summer. But I think I do still want to challenge myself in that aspect of going for a few weeks or a few months by myself. And I'm very much like independent. I'll do travels by myself in the States and traveling different states to go meet people. But sometimes I do like being with someone. I travel a lot with one of my best friends who I met in Thailand my first gap year. Please. And that's very comforting knowing that you have something. And especially when you are sick, when you are going through something, it's nice to have that little slice of home. And I think it's also gives me so much more comfort with all of my medication that I have to have and all of my health issues that I have, knowing that I have someone with me just in case something were to happen. And I think I will eventually go on some sort of like longer solo trip, but I will say I have been in a lot of cases going somewhere, meeting someone or some people, whether it's a work exchange or like meeting a friend in a different country, like knowing I'll be with them for a little bit. But I do want to do a little bit more like on my own, but I think I do find much more comfort in being there with someone. So yeah. But
I
have done a lot of traveling.
You've had so many adventures. Okay, so after you left Hawaii, very, very sad day for me. I was like, bestie girl is gone. Like that was tough. I was so sad after that. But you know, life goes on. But you actually were right on to another adventure right after that. Where did you go? You went on a road trip.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I flew to. I have an issue with saying no. So someone's
it's not bad when it's to travel.
Someone's like, "You want to meet me in Greece?" And I'm like,
obviously,
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yes, tell me when.
So my friend gives me a call and she's like, I'm going on this road trip on the West Coast. And I also, Abby, I met her in Thailand as well. And so I'm like, yes. So I'm like, I'll go to Hawaii and then I'll fly to Oregon and we'll do a road trip. So we ended up going on like a 3-week road trip and it was me and her in this big like truck car and just these two girls just driving this big car.
I love that. 18 years old, going to see the world.
18 years old. And her mom packed us like a bunch of food that we would have, and like she's a big hiker, and so I'm on like, and I hike, but I'm not like she's a hiker. Like she'll go on like hike trip still.
I'll go on like a nice little Sunday afternoon hike.
I want my hike or walk. Yeah. Like incline, bear spray.
Bear spray is where I draw the line.
Yeah. Goodness. So yeah, we went on that for like 3 weeks, and that was so fun, so healing. But then I was flying out of Vegas, and we go from 3 weeks isolation, just me and Abby. We're like camping. I'm reading like 3 books a day. I'm like washing my hands in the pond next door, like feeding the deer.
Really in touch with your nature side.
And then I love it. And then I go home in Vegas. Okay, so I fly out of Vegas to go back to Chicago. We're walking on the strip, and I'm like, where am I? This is absolutely terrifying. Going from nothing, 0 to 100
Vegas is like really, really something to be dropped into.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I'll ever make it back to Vegas. I still haven't. I mean, it's only been like 3 years, but I'm like, I like that is just way too much for me. So
you can't really do much there when you're not 21 anyway.
So true. I was like, what did we? I think we went to the Hershey's Museum and then like went back to the hotel and like let me actually scrub and take a shower, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I came home, and then I think I worked for a little. I worked for a while, but see, the thing about me is that I'm always in the back of my mind thinking about the next adventure. When am I gonna leave next? And so
so true.
I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to leave in that September, but then I realized, you know what? I have to fund these all on my own now. Thailand, my parents helped me out with, because I mean, it was like a college thing, and I did take classes for it, which was they only let me do it if I took classes, so I did do that. But then after that, it was like, no, it's kind of like you do it on your own. So I've been working, and I work whenever I'm home, I'm like, every single penny I ever do is going towards me funding my traveling. So, and I live at home, I don't really pay any expenses, so obviously there's pros and cons to both. But then I stayed home, and then I was like, you know what? I can't wait to go on my next trip. And so me and my friend Cabell, who I was in Thailand with, we were brainstorming places we want to go. I think she came to visit me in Chicago. We were in Barnes and Noble. We were putting our finger like in the travel section. We were like, okay, we're going to run across, and whatever one like it lands on, we're going to go to.
I am obsessed with that.
Yeah, so I think, love that. I think it landed in like, I have a video.
Antarctica. You're like, okay,
somewhere a little, and we're like, try again, go again. That was false. Then I think we went again, and it did say, I think it said somewhere in Latin America. Maybe it was Brazil or Colombia, which we haven't been to yet, but we will. I know it. And so we were like, oh my gosh, yes. And she was getting this poll about like Central America, and I was still like kind of a little hesitant. I didn't really know much about Central America or anything at the time. And then I think I was scrolling on, that's where, going everywhere, but that's when I found my love, or I had been practicing yoga for 5 or 6 years. And I was like, maybe I want to become a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, I'm putting this, it said Latin America. Like, then I saw a TikTok of this girl going to get her certification in Costa Rica, and I was like,
that's me.
That's a sign from the universe. I'm going. And so I did all my research. And again, I have this video on my phone of me finding this retreat, and I'm being like, I need to go here. And so then I talked to Cabell about it, and I was like, I want to become a yoga teacher. And then obviously there was a lot more to it prior to that. And so then that January of 2023, me and Cabell booked our one-way ticket to Costa Rica. I spent a month in Costa Rica, in Nosar, Costa Rica, getting my yoga certification. Best month ever. It was so amazing. And then we spent 3 months after that traveling Central America. We only made it to like 2 other countries.
Where'd you go?
We spent a lot of time in Costa Rica, and then went down to Panama, and then spent some time in Panama. Really liked Panama. And then we came back up Costa Rica on the opposite side, and then went to Guatemala.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go there.
Yeah, you have to go. Like,
okay.
Maybe I'll like come meet you. Like it.
You know what? I'll be there.
Oh my god, the thoughts. I need to stop. But
constantly thinking about. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go here. Which of my travel friends would want to go?
Literally. But I love Guatemala. It's I don't know, like Thailand, Guatemala, like I love Guatemala so much. And so then we did that, and I was traveling there for like 3 months, and then I came home for a little bit, worked again, and then went to Croatia with my mom, which you're also gonna love, and then went to Greece, and then came back, and then
wait, what was the work exchange you did in Greece? Right, you were doing yoga.
I was teaching yoga there, and that was actually my first time teaching after being certified. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Because also Greece, which is like not everyone's like first language is English, so that was also a learning curve, but that was very helpful for me.
And Greek is hard because like it's not even the same alphabet.
No, it's so hard.
It's like I can't even think of
it. Ended up being fine, obviously, but yeah. And then I came home, worked again, and I've done some traveling since then, but I love it. I'm home for a bit, but yeah, all my adventures have been
only
fun.
21 and you've done all of that.
Yeah. And I think it's like you say that, and I'm like, yes, that's so cool, I've done that. And sometimes I have imposter syndrome because I'm like, wait, but I have done that. But I am like, I did teach yoga here in these countries, and I try to be like, yeah, I know I've done that, but then I'm also thinking about it, I'm like, wait, no, I've actually done that. That's actually really cool. But I'm like, imposter syndrome, did I actually do that? I do struggle a lot with imposter syndrome, but yeah, I guess I'm only 21. How awesome.
And I feel like it's so easy to get a little bit like when you have this travel bug, then it's so easy to think about everywhere that you want to go and all the things that you want to do and like opportunities you want to have, that it's so much easier to be like, no, I haven't like done that much. And or like, you know, I have a scratch off map too, like you do. I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, I literally keep going to small countries, so
right, I'm like, okay,
like I haven't been anywhere.
Hadley's like, you should go to Brazil or something now. I'm like, okay, first of all, shut your mouth.
I was like, do I need to go to like Russia or Antarctica or something so I can scratch a big one?
No, literally my thought every day.
Maybe not right now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, not right now. I was like, or will I never go there so I can just scratch it off now, so at least like some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I totally get where you're coming from. Like, I feel that kind of imposter syndrome too. Especially for the longest time when I wasn't traveling, because like I've been back in Minnesota for a little over a year now, and I did go to Australia for a month to visit my boyfriend, but that didn't feel like as much as I wasn't really going there to see Australia.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we did some stuff, but I was there to see him.
Yeah.
So, but still, I think that kind of gave me that feeling too of being like, oh wait, that's not what I do anymore, and so it's gonna feel really good to get back into it. But I'm just so proud of you for doing that and not just like going to college because you feel like it's what's next, and not just doing this or that because that's what people around you are doing, because it's so hard not to, but like you'll never regret not going. And I feel like we are really lucky that we have really supportive families in that, but also like your parents are super cool and they kind of did a similar thing.
I know, it's very cool. Yeah, they booked my mom told you today, but they booked a one-way ticket around the world, and then way back when, I'm like, I
can't believe that was a thing. Right? Like you could just get on and off as many planes as you wanted as long as you're going like the next direction.
For $1,000?
I would do that.
Sign me up.
Freaking quick.
One-way ticket around the world for $1,000. That's a flight to like,
well, at this rate, that's a flight from Minnesota to Chicago.
Literally. I'm like, simmer down, okay?
The flight prices have gone crazy lately.
Oh, tell me. And I'm on freaking Skyscanner every single day. I'm like, wait, but that doesn't make sense though. Like,
I know, I'm on Google Flights like every day.
Oh my gosh. But no, I think it's easy to think about, like, look at this map and be like, look at all the places that I haven't been yet. But then I have to sit and be present as much as I can and look back and reflect on how much I have done and how amazing it is at the things I have done, and still accomplish, like, be proud of myself in that way. And I think, again, that's a lot easier said than done. And a lot of people, especially in our day and age with social media, look at these things and think, we're not doing like this person's doing, and then comparison and is the thief of joy, literally.
Seriously.
But knowing that, and I always say this, like, we are exactly where we're meant to be right now. We are our own human experience. No one else has as any other experience but ours. And even like we were talking about this too today, even when traveling, sometimes you'll run into the people where it's like, you haven't gone here, you're only traveling for 2 months.
They're like, oh, 2 months? Oh, that's a nice little trip. I'm like,
girl,
we can't all go for 8 months. Like, I actually can't fathom that. 4 months was my point of like straight up living out of a backpack, that I was just like, honestly, I'm not enjoying it anymore. I am tired. I need structure. I am burnt out. I am sick of getting sick. I want my own bed. I want to see my people. Like, I'm just...
drink actual water out of my refrigerator.
Yeah, that is such a nice one. Yeah. So it's like, it's so nice to know more who you are and like learning that through travel, but you definitely will meet people that are different, and it's hard not to compare yourself. Like, that's so true. Comparison is the thief of joy. Or even seeing so many like travel influencers and travel creators that are like, I went backpacking for 8 months and this is what I brought. First of all, I don't know how you fit all of that into the same backpack that I have, because I brought half of that stuff and I'm still like jamming it in. So I don't know about whatever's going on there. And I am using compression packing cubes. Please do not give me that suggestion. Like, I've done it all.
If I see myself in that damn top one more time, I am going to lose my mind.
I know it's tough, but, but yeah, so what would you say are some of like your, like, what's your favorite thing about backpacking around and like going on these scrappy adventures?
I think, okay, and it's so interesting because I love my routine. I love my structure. I love going to my workout classes in the morning, knowing what I'm doing. I'm home right now, and I love knowing what I'm doing with my routine every day. But I think one of the most beautiful things about traveling, well, there's so many, but every day looks so different, and not knowing what your day is going to look like. And this is one of my favorite things, is like, I always think about, you'll never know, or what's the quote? You don't know how many people will love you and you'll love in your life, or you don't know like how many you don't know what your life is yet. And that just like brings me so much excitement. And like, so knowing exciting. The people that come into my life, or like knowing that if I didn't go on this trip, I wouldn't have met these certain people, is so crazy to me. And I think it's crazy that certain people wouldn't be in your life because you wouldn't have done these adventures. And probably that's my favorite thing, is meeting people, but also just like the excitement of, you have no idea what's going to happen. You're just doing it, and whatever happens, happens. And, you know, seeing these amazing things. I think it's also so crazy to me that we grew up in this town in America with these people, these relatives. I could have been any other kid anywhere in the world, and I think it's always like, whenever I'm on a bus ride in like a foreign country or something, I'm like, these kids playing soccer, they're just growing up the way they grew up. I grew up the way I grew up, and it's just insane that we could be on opposite sides of the world and we have a lot of similarities, like playing soccer outside or just being kids, and it's still the same, but we are so far, and obviously it can be very different. But just knowing that it's just crazy for me in my brain to wrap my head around. I grew up here. This is my life, but I could have been anywhere else in the world where I could have grown up. And I think looking at other ways of life is so interesting to me, and other cultures is so beautiful. I love the food. I just love everything. Like, obviously there's some hardships to it, and some things that, you know, with anything in life, there's things that suck and aren't fun, but traveling is just such a beautiful thing.
That's so true what you're saying. The way that I would phrase it is that I just kind of really learned or recognized that everybody around the world, like, we are all still human. We all have to put our pants on one leg at a time. And so there's actually things that we have in common. Like, I think it's really, really sweet when I see kids in all different parts of the world, and they're all just like, they kind of have the same things. Like, they all get excited about this little thing, or they all just want to like play or this or that. And that's really, really sweet to see. And then, you know, you see like a couple holding hands walking down the sidewalk, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, they're so in love and they're in this place, and like, what if this is their hometown, and like, this is just where they're going on a date? And then you see someone else, then you're like, oh, they're totally on a first date. And it's just like, yeah, we are very different, but one of the really cool things about going all around is also seeing how alike we are, and that kind of makes it less scary too. And just being like, wait, we're all human. Like, if something happens, there are good people everywhere. Like, just because I'm not like from where they're from, you know, there are people that want to help you or just like will be human. And I think I try to look out for other people that aren't from the States in more ways too, when like I see people like tourists and stuff like that. And that is one of the really cool things that you were saying, is like both how you get to see how alike you are, and that it's actually not that scary, and that we're all like humans, and we all were just born in different places. Like, my life could have been completely different. And so that's another way to like also kind of, I guess I don't really know the right way to phrase it, but stay humble in a way, because it's like you're not better than anyone just because you were born like into a certain life, because
it could have been very different.
And also I think sometimes people will travel places and be like, oh, they don't have that much, oh, blah blah blah, but it's like, no, but to them they have the world. Like, it, just because it's not your life doesn't mean it's not a good life. You know, like, just because they don't have a Dyson Airwrap, you know, like they probably don't care. You know? And so it's just
more like they care a little bit more about certain things.
So it's really cool to see like what is so important to people in other countries, and like what's held at the forefront. Like, for example, one of my tattoos, it says essere, which is Italian for to be, like to be present where you are. And I got it because that was the first place I learned to like really slow down and just be. And like I had never done that before, because in America it's very much like, oh, you can do all this and that. How does she do it? How does she get it all done? And I want to be that girl that's like, oh my God, how does she involved in this and that and getting straight A's and have a job on top of that and have scholarships? Like, how does she do it all? And then I just kind of learned that I was like, wait, I actually rather want to be the girl that's just like chilling, enjoying. Like, and I want to sit at a coffee shop for 4 hours. And Italy was the first place I learned to do that. And I just remember my professor lecturing about it and being like, you guys need to slow down, like just be where you are.
Exactly.
And that's why I got the tattoo of it. And that was something that I was like, oh my God, I had to leave home to learn that lesson. And that's really special. And I think it's really cool that we're getting those experiences so young, because sometimes I talk about this stuff and people just say like, oh my God, I had to turn 45 before I learned that. Or like some people never ever learn that. Some people work until they die.
Absolutely.
And like, I get that sometimes you have to, but I love what you're doing and I admire it so much. And more like, because I'm seeing it from like a couple years ahead of you, I just see how valuable it is. And it can be really, really hard to go against what other people are doing. Like, it just is. And it's hard when you feel like, oh, I'm serving and maybe I should be doing something different or like something more stable, but I want to keep going traveling, and like, it's a job you can always come back to. And if you can't go back to that restaurant, you can go to another one. And it is good money and it is fun. Like, there's nothing wrong with serving. And if you do want to do that the rest of your life, that's totally fine too. But like, we were having a conversation earlier, just getting a little bit like fed up with the customer service of it all.
Good Lord.
Please, I wish that everyone had to work a serving job in their life.
No, you can't have any more ranch, and we don't have Coke products. We have Pepsi products. And please, I'm sorry. I don't make the rules.
And please, for the love of God, don't ask me what your side options are one more time when it's written on the menu. Anyways. But it allows us to travel. And then when I do go travel, I'm like, wait, it was all worth it. Every ranch I grabbed.
So true.
Every time I listed all the beers we have on tap once again. But I just like, I'm so freaking proud of you for doing that. And I love to watch your adventures. Like, you're having the adventures of a lifetime and you just keep doing it and doing it. And you'll never regret that. Like, you have your whole life to get a house and to get a job and to get married and have children and all that stuff. Like, you have time for that. But if you do that stuff first, you might not have time to go see the world when it's just you. Like, when you're the only one you have to worry about. And so I'm just like, I love to see people doing it. And I just like, I want you to be an example for people to see, because you are doing it and you continue to do it. And a lot of people get too scared and don't. And I also, of course, recognize that it's not an option for everybody. But if it is, like, take advantage, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I have so much great gratitude, and I'm very privileged to be able to do it. And I mean, we'll talk about this on the other episode too, but I think what stems from it too is when you get to a point, or when you go through something in your life that like is so life changing, like not to be dramatic, but getting my diagnosis with being type 1, I put myself in this box for a little bit of like, I don't know, like what am I gonna do, like how am I gonna
live a full life?
Yeah. And then I think to that, I think when you get to a point of hitting that, like that is reality. Like that's when it hits, is like, no, this is life. Like not everything goes perfect. Not everything goes it's the way it's supposed to. And truly, like, even though that diagnosis was just a whole thing with itself, like honestly, I think if I never got diagnosed, if I never had my knee issues, I wouldn't be in this path. Again, everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. But once you hit a point of struggle and hardship, then you realize like this is my life. Like mm-hmm. I need to grasp onto what I have in my life, because you only get one shot, and do not miss a chance to blow Eminem. Or who is that? I think it's Eminem. But seriously, you only like, it's so much easier said than done. But I'm, besides a mother to a dog, like I don't have much responsibility, so
and also it's your family dog, like so, it's not actually your dog that you abandoned.
So true. My mom is just fine with my dog, trust me.
And also to what you were saying too about like there's people that you haven't met yet that are gonna love you so much. I think about that too, because especially when I was like at the end of college and kind of like lost a lot of people, I thought, you know, like I have this finite number of people that love me now, mm-hmm. and like that's all that I know, and then I can only like lose people from there. And then you go through more life and like through traveling and all this stuff, I just think, oh my God, everything happens the way it's supposed to, because if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't have done this, and I wouldn't have gone here, and maybe I wouldn't have like gone traveling or this, or maybe I wouldn't have gone to Hawaii mm-hmm. if I haven't been brave enough to like break off this relationship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I met you in Hawaii, and now here I am 3 years later, and I'm staying with you in your family home, and mm-hmm. we're just like hanging out, catching up. It's like nothing has ever changed, and you're so important to me, and I love you so much. And it's like, oh my God, wait,
things do work out. My life didn't end there in that fight with a friend. Yeah.
And it's so crazy. Just like, it's so true. There are people that you haven't met yet that are going to be some of the most important people in your life. Like, okay, this is a little bit existential, but mm-hmm. I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, that it's so crazy that like there's really important dates in your life mm-hmm. that someday you're going to like look forward to or think about every year, and you don't know what they are yet. Like Aww. My children's birthdays pass every single year, and I have no idea when it's happening. Oh my gosh. Or like my wedding day passes every single year. Like, you know, like
that's gonna make me cry. That's
right?
So cute.
Or like my best friend like telling me that they're engaged or like pregnant or this or that. Like those are things that I'm gonna be like, oh my God, wait, that is a really, really like important
day.
Today
could be that, you like know, today, in many years. Holy
yeah,
shit,
today,
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, September 9th could actually be like one of the most important days ever, but we don't know that yet.
Oh my God.
And so that's just something that is also really sweet and special. And I think about when I'm traveling is like, when I'm about to go on an adventure, I just think something really, really important could happen in the next couple months. And how exciting is that? And like, I'm about to meet people, like you're going to meet probably at least one person that's going to be like a lasting important person to you on these adventures.
Absolutely.
And I've met a handful of them. Like one of my good friends, I'm probably gonna, like, she's kind of to me like Cabell is to you, mm-hmm. where it's like, that's my travel buddy. Like mm-hmm. we just click, we just work together. Like, we have the same energy and the same vibe, and we always kind of want to do the same thing, mm-hmm. and it just works. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like whenever I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna be here, you want to come? She's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And it's like, oh my God, like she's so important to me, even though she lives on the other side of the world. Mm-hmm. And that's also a really special thing about travel and mm-hmm. doing these adventures, is that you do have a lot of love and friends from all around the world. And I think when you are home, that can be really hard and isolating, because mm-hmm. it feels like you don't really have many friends, because like, of course you have like your friends from hometown that like you love and everything, mm-hmm. but they do have their own lives, especially when they've been living there all that time. So mm-hmm. it's like, they can't just drop everything to be your friend all the time. Or you think about like, oh, I want to have like a birthday something, and you think, well, honestly, a lot of my closest friends are all over the place. Like, I would love to invite you to my birthday party, but you live in a different state and like an hour away from the airport still. So it's like, you know, it can be isolating in that way.
Long distance friendships are,
Yeah. But then when I go, like, that's why visiting them is so important, and continuing to do this is so important, because then when I do, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, like, it's not that I forgot that I had this like great friend that we just like click with and pick up like nothing happened at all, but like you kind of do in a way when you're so involved in like getting in your own life, your hometown life again. And I think it's really, really good to go out and explore and remember like who you are and just how many people that you have had an impact on and have had an impact on you.
Yeah. I think probably honestly back to the whole what is my favorite thing, I love human connection so much, and
it's like it is Lila, like that is the moments that make life worth living is like when you meet somebody that you're just like, oh my god, you were like, we're from completely different countries, we have completely different upbringings, we have a completely different idea of what day-to-day life is, but like somehow we just became best friends.
We just connect, and it's beautiful. And I think that is like when traveling, you have this sense of like everything I love and adore about life, a lot of those qualities people that travel also have. I think, like, you know, I try not to take life too seriously. I try to be present, like, and I think
surrounding yourself with people like that has taught, like, there were ways I wanted to be, like, I wanted to be more relaxed, more go with the flow. I wanted to be more adventure seeking, and then when you're around those people all the time, you're like, wait, that can be me. And I totally get what you mean.
And I think environment is just such a big thing.
Ocean is a really big one for me.
Therapy, don't mind therapy, go to the ocean. Dead ass.
Plane ticket, it's probably cheaper. You'll get in the ocean and you'll remember that actually life is
seriously, just get a little sun kiss, everything will be okay.
Seriously, that was one of the biggest things I've learned is just that I actually, being by the ocean is essential for me. Like,
I need to hear the waves crash and the sand in my toes.
Well, when we were living in Hawaii, okay, so one of the nice cool things that we would do is we would wake up at like 6 a.m. every day to go swimming, which neither of us are really morning people. We were talking about that this morning. We're like, how did we do that? The only reason is because there was an ocean on the other end of that. Like, and then I would get in and I'd be like, oh, I feel relief. And then on the days that we didn't go, I would literally feel myself like be irritable. And I was like, I think I need to get in the ocean. Then I would, and I would literally feel better. Like, there is something so healing about
Nature, so healing.
It is.
It's insane, very much Lila, but it's insane when you have these, like, especially when you're kind of going through, whether you're like home or maybe you haven't traveled in a while, or personally when I'm just kind of going through something a little tough. And I've had very low moments in my life and have come very far in my mental health and everything, but then I have moments like even just sitting here right now, or when I'm on top of a mountain in Guatemala, or like scuba diving with sharks or bathing elephants, that I'm like, or just like walking with a friend that I haven't seen in months, or like, I don't know,
scuba diving with sharks to going on a walk is crazy.
Or I don't know, singing karaoke in a bar. Like there's certain moments that I'll have in my life, and I'll be like, wait, no, this is worth living. Like, this is the reason, like, I love life, because there's so many beautiful things. And bathing out, like, that's a huge jump, but even just like the smallest things, like that, like, find gratitude in the smallest things. And gratitude, like I said in yoga class this morning, gratitude is the foundation. Like, everything is built off of gratitude, and like, count your blessings, be grateful. There's so many moments that I've had in my life that I've been so fortunate to have, but I've been like, this is why life is such a beautiful thing, and this is why it's worth living. And I'm, again, so fortunate to have those opportunities, but like, those are just like, it's addicting. I want to keep craving, like, grabbing to those feeling. So I just,
Lila is so addicting.
Gosh, she's so addicting.
So okay, this is kind of a fun one.
Let's
but
do it.
I want to ask, what is your least favorite thing about it all? Because we can't just sit here and act like it's all stars and rainbows. Like everybody has shit their pants in a foreign country.
Oh my gosh.
And that's just what I've always said.
Everyone has shit their pants in a foreign country, and I miss those Skims underwear.
Why does it always happen to people in Skims?
Right? I'm like, come on. No, I miss I do. I honestly was thinking about that last night because I pulled my other ones out and I was like, wait, no, I miss my blue ones I had, but
they were unfortunately unsalvageable.
I didn't want to think about those every time that moment every time I put it on. So yeah, as much as there is beauty in the travel, of course, with everything comes some not so good things. Let's see. Probably kind of like, yeah, what we were talking about today, getting sick always sucks. And I've been so fortunate with not being sick, but this last trip I got pretty sick. I got food poisoning and I was down bad. Food poisoning sucks. So bad.
It's like actually like life or death. Like I lay on the floor, like some cold ground next to the toilet.
I'm not practicing like, gratitude at all.
No, there's no I'm like, I actually think death would be better than this. Like I'm not being dramatic and I'm not doing too much. Like I'm serious.
I don't care that I was swimming with sharks. Like I don't care. Like I don't care.
Airlift me to my bed right now. Yeah. Like it's
like that's when it's okay. Like maybe like really count your blessings, but it's hard to.
You don't have to be. You don't. Okay. Honestly, you don't have to be grateful when you're like sitting on the toilet with a bucket in front of you. No, and that's just real.
And
that's
I do remember that happening. I was like vomiting. Okay, projectile. And I like grab a sip of water. I think that night I slept on the bathroom floor in my yoga mat and there was like cockroaches around me like in Costa Rica. It was awful.
And you don't even care about the cockroaches though.
There was a huge spider next to my head. Did not care. And I was all by myself.
Take me. Wrap me in the web. I don't care.
Come cuddle. I'm cold anyway. I don't have a blanket, so might as well. And I remember having like a sip of water and I was like, at least I'm like grateful for this water. And I'm grateful for this water, but I can't like shut up.
And you probably didn't get to keep the water
like, turn it off
in your system.
No, so. I didn't. So yeah, sickness definitely sucks.
That is one of the tougher ones. Yeah. The challenges.
I think it's weird because I won't be homesick, but then as soon as I get homesick, I'll get homesick.
It's like, oh, I need to go home.
I need to go home now. It's crazy.
It is a really tough feeling. Like it's like missing someone is a really, really tough thing, and missing home is an even bigger thing because you're like craving a feeling. And like, yes, I've talked about it before, but like carrying home with you is a good practice, and like trying to find pieces of home along the way and like connect with people from home while you're away by like, oh, this reminds me of them, I should let them know. But there is like that feeling that does eventually come, at least for me, and I know for you, and maybe it doesn't come for everyone. Like I have met other backpackers that I'm like, oh, you've been backpacking for literally 2 years. Like, are you ever going to go back home? And they're like, not till I see everywhere else in the world. And that's just not me. But I like the second you feel that, it's like, no, I want to go home now. And I usually only feel it when I am sick.
Yes, very true.
And I'll call my parents. I'm like, I just want to come home. Like, okay, well, come home. Why are you doing this to yourself? I'm like, but I can't.
Yeah.
And then, 2 days later, I text them or they text me like, how are you doing? I'm like,
oh no.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll have a pina colada in my hand at the beach. With like, I don't know, what do you mean?
But I was super sick. I was like, I want to come home, but I'm going to give another day. And then 2 days later, my dad was like, hey, Joj, have you like looked at flights or anything? Like, have you thought more about when you're going to come home? And I was like, oh no, I'm on an island. I start scuba certified training tomorrow. I'm fine. Like 2 days before, I was like in some hotel in the north of the country, so and all of a sudden I'm like down south on an island, like whooping it up.
Gosh, it's so fascinating to me because then I also think about when traveling, like that could be a random Thursday, and then I think about what I did the Thursday before, and I'm like, what did I just do this past week? Like, did I just meet like Albert Einstein's like daughter? Like what's going on? Like what, like who am I like hanging out with right now? What am I? It's just, time and crazy. But yeah, I'd say homesick, being sick. And then like when something happens at home and like you wish you were there for it, kind of like a birthday or wedding or something, that kind of, comes with the territory.
That stuff's tough.
Which, but grateful to have those things waiting for me at home.
Always bring it back to the gratitude.
Bring it back.
There's definitely challenges. I think One thing too is just like figuring out where you're gonna sleep every night.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, especially like going the way that we do. When you're going on a trip for like 3 months, you really can't book everything in advance. I mean, you could. It would take you a long time, but it's also like that kind of takes away from the adventure a little bit. I do think in the future I'll be more planned just because like the stress of figuring everything out every single day was like, dude, this is taking too much energy just to figure out where I'm going to be. Like, if I would have figured out some of this ahead of time, maybe I could have actually enjoyed a bit more. But I do think that there is a point of like fatigue, and it's okay to recognize that in yourself and know it. And like I was saying, like there's people that will backpack for months, years, and they just want to keep doing it. And then there's other people that feel like they could do it for a couple months. There's people that feel like they could only do it for a couple weeks. And I think like learning what's right for you and like really being okay with that is super important too. Like you can think that it's great that somebody else does something for a ton of months, but also be okay with the fact that like 3 months is your limit. And I think that is a bit of a challenge, was like learning about myself, what is my limit and like what I'm okay with, and also pushing myself a little bit more, being like, okay, you are uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you should go home yet. And then I knew in my gut when it was time.
When you know. Yeah, absolutely.
So that can be one of the challenges for sure.
Yeah.
So like it is beautiful. It's really cool to live a very adventurous life, but it's also not easy to go against like the status quo and to keep doing this and have like, there is a certain element of people being like, what are you doing? When are you going to get serious?
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to go to school? When are you going to get a job?
Off
and
on your
like,
next, like...
Yeah. Oh my God. And you're like, I am. Actually, I got
you wish you were so Betsy. Like, calm down. Gosh.
Yeah. And for the most part, it's like I get support, but you do always... I feel like I judge myself the most out of everybody.
Absolutely.
And it's hard, but that's another reason why I just like am so proud of you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
And you inspire me to go on more trips, and I'm excited to see where you go next.
Thank you. I know. I'm like, I'm inspired. Where should I go?
I know. You're
great.
Like, looking at your map, going to point out where you're going next.
Yeah, probably. Oh my goodness.
Well, thanks so much for being on the pod, Kenna.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Yay. I love you.
That's what we got.